Right, okay, welcome to the concept art part. We're finally going to get started on our concept art. So you can see here I've gone ahead and I've selected one of those neutral poses that you saw in the slideshow there. Just gone ahead and put it as a layer here, and you can see it's very much exactly like Photoshop. It's just a separate layer. Okay, and of course we're going to be working in a kind of non-destructive workflow way. So every time I'm going to draw like a key piece of clothing, I'm going to draw it on another layer. Okay, now for best practice, of course, I recommend you do name your layers. So for this one, I'll give you an idea. This is going to be the shirt layer, but let's be honest, or let's just be me. I'm lazy. Name my layers. All. But don't be like me. Don't be lazy. Name your layers. Okay, so anyway, where are we going to start with it? So just bearing in mind here, and I've got my mood board at the ready. There it is there. Okay. I am just going to start with the piece of clothing I'm always most comfortable with starting first, and that is the shirt. Okay, I bet you couldn't guess that by the name of the layer. But what I like to do is I just like to use a standard paintbrush, and of course 64 pixels is far too big, so I'm just going to go ahead and resize that down to something like, I don't know, 7.4, something like that, and I'm going to turn on kind of sensitivity as well, make it even. Okay, so I'm not painting anything at the moment because it's grey, you can't see it, but I'm just going to change the colour. I'm going to move that to use saturation and lightness, and I'm actually just going to pick a light blue, and you might be thinking, have I gone crazy? No, not quite yet. Okay, but a light blue allows whatever I draw on top to stand out, and yes, I'm basically going to kind of trace over her, because I'm not a concept artist, not gifted in drawing, anatomy, or basically I just want to use this get the idea down on paper as quickly as possible. So let's start with the shirt. So for her shirt, I'm not going to worry too much about the neck part. Okay, the kind of shirt I want to give it is just a very standard kind of chemise or a kind of blouse shirt, and I'm just going to start here along her shoulder, and I'm just going to kind of basically sketch in where the shirt would kind of fall. Kind of a baggy shirt, so it's going to hang quite loose a little bit here, especially down there. And I'm going to give her one of those shirts that has like a puffiness around the elbow. If you don't know what I mean, let me pull in my reference here. I'm looking at this shirt in particular there. So you can see it kind of comes puffy out around the elbow section. So basically, I'm just kind of drawing that in now, and it's wrapped around the elbow here. So if I'm thinking that the strap to hold it in, unfortunately pressure sensitivity is not quite working out for me, which is a bit thing. But I'm going to say that it's going to wrap around there somewhere on the forearm. So the rest of the clothes is going to hang down a bit. So it's going to be quite baggy. And again, as you can see, I'm not an amazing artist, but I can draw enough to kind of get by. Okay, and that's the goal here. Okay, of course we're going to have some fabric folds and creases around the armpit. So we're just going to them in just to help sell the realism a little bit. We don't want to be too basic with this art, just so that we end up ruining kind of what we can perceive to be a pretty realistic rendition of what our character might look like. Okay, so do try to add detail where you can, but at the same time, don't stress about it. And okay, we're going to come down to the body part here, the torso. Just going to follow the curvature of her body there, and again, it's a front-on picture, so the kind of chest area isn't going to be too, say, exaggerated or prevalent here. And now she's got a loose fitting shirt, so I'm going to have to kind of think, right, if this shirt is quite tight, I'm probably going to have to come in a little bit more. I'm going to have to think about where her body would be under that shirt and, kind of follow that contour line there. Her hand's on the outside here, so I'm going to adhere to that. That's going to crease the shirt. And at the moment, her shirt's going to be covered by trousers and belts, so not really essential to how a shirt would finish here. So I'm just going to kind of cap it off somewhere. Okay, nice and simple. I'm going to do the other side now. I'm going to start here around this area. Do the same thing I did for the torso. Again, come in there a little bit and then just try your best to follow where you believe the contours of her body would be. Once you're happy with those contours now, let's go ahead and we'll kind of add in some folds. Okay, so remember, if her shirt's kind of tucked into her trousers here, you're going to get quite a baggy fold out there. And again, it depends on how tight the shirt is. Shirt's pretty loose, you're going to get less kind of bagginess, but you're still going to get some kind of creasing and warping here. You can see here on her shirt, She's got warping there that you can follow. And again, if the shirt's tight, you're going to get some stretching going across the chest there. Probably up here. Probably get some stretching there from the kind of fabric at the top there. Okay, notice I haven't done anything with the collar. The collar will drastically change the way the folds work on this shirt. But let's ignore the collar for now. Kind of do the arms and shoulders, the important parts, because that's what we're going to see. And I do prefer shirts that have kind of sharp edges to them, because again, thinking about that kind of gothic idea. Let's see how this shirt might fall. I might just do a crease there just to kind of indicate where the shoulders finish. That's just for me. And keep it kind of nice and loose. It's going to be pretty baggy around here, so again, nice easy flow. Just kind of let the pen do the work for you, essentially. Folds there, and again, similar to this arm here, I'm going to cap it off where they're on her forearm. Again, I might change where that lies exactly, but I'm thinking somewhere around. Okay, now it's pretty hard to see what's going on with the shirt because we've drawn over the top of her, but we've still got bare arms and a tank top, so it's going to be difficult to see. The only thing I'm going to do here is just do a bit of a kind of placeholder collar, so I'm just going to kind of do very simple V-neck there, and of course just seam down here. Again, it's nothing flashy because this is going to be up, so I'm not bothered about this. Okay. So under this shirt layer, I'm just going to create a new one. Name it. I'm going to call this shirt color. So basically what I'm going to do here, color it in. Okay? And exactly like how you used to do it in kindergarten, try and stay within the lines. So let's go to a big brush. I'm just going to, I select grays because I'm very bad at color design at the beginning stages. So in order to differentiate different parts of my clothing, I actually just to a grey. So forgive me for that, but I'm basically just going to color in what I've drawn because that's going to help give me an immediate idea of what we've just drawn in here. What does that silhouette actually look like? Okay, I'm going to color it in, and like I said before, try your best to stay within the lines. Again, it doesn't have to be the best illustration in the world, but do try to be as neat and as precise as you can, because the better the art, the more informed your brain will be when you actually commit pen to ZBrush, say, because we will probably start using the mood board a lot less for 3D sculpting. We will start to use this concept art more as the kind of go-to piece, but of course we're not going to throw the mood board away. Definitely going to keep it around, but hopefully our concept art gets itself into a position where we can just have the concept art out and we can kind of follow along well enough with just the concept. Finish shading all that in there. Alright, fantastic. So we can kind of see now, with her arms covered, we can get a better idea of what she's starting to look like. You can zoom out there, and we can see it's nothing flash, it's a bog standard blouse. If you want to get a good idea just what exactly you've drawn, you can always, of course, hide that base mesh layer. See, I've missed a bit. Okay. Alright, fantastic. So that's just the shirt done. Hopefully, that's demonstrated the raw technique that I use to go ahead and start concepting this idea. Okay. The next part I want to do, and particularly staying within this video, is the waistcoat or vest. So let me bring my reference board back here, and I'm looking very much at this here. This thing, look at that. That is very snazzy. I like it. I like the look of it. But I also like the high collar factor here. This high collar from this particular image here reminds me very much of Lady Maria. So we can get that Lady Maria-ness by kind of fusing this coat idea with this kind of waistcoat idea. Cannot say waistcoat, apparently. Okay, so let's go ahead and commit to that now. So again, it's going to be a little bit trickier, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to do exactly the same thing I did last time, but I'm actually going to use a different color. I'm not going to use light blue because it will clash with what I've just drawn. Instead, I'm going to use maybe something like orange, another obtuse color, just to help it stand out. on the rest. Okay, so where is this collar going to sit? I'm not really sure just yet, but before I do the collar, I'm just going to kind of pencil in where that vest is going to go. So starting over here, I think I'm going to kind of draw something that maybe comes up around there and overlaps, obviously, and then it's going to kind of shoot up down here, all the way up there. So I'm thinking it's going to basically ride down there, something like that. And you might be thinking, what am I drawing? Okay, but you'll see in a minute. That's just going to go up there, and of course it's going to follow very tightly around her waist, so we're going to put that in nice and tight around there. Okay, and then it's just going to climb up just past the breast there, and it's going to basically cap off around her shoulder here. So it's up to you how far you want the vest to end. You can end the vest there if you like, but I don't like that. I'm going to give it a bit of a curvature around here. Okay, but I'm not going to move it too far from the shoulder. I'm just going to keep it somewhere there. And already, if you're a bit confused with what I've just drawn half the vest there. Okay, that's just only one side of it. Right, now to draw the other side. So I'm going to start off here so you can see this side's slightly offset. Okay, I'm going to sweep out a little bit round here, and I'm just going to go and draw where that ends on this side here. And again, just kind of stop short of the shoulder, come down there, come round the breast area, come down and over, follow the contour down. Now, how am I going to finish this out? I think I want this edge here that overlaps to be longer. So I'm actually going to kind of cut this waistcoat part here off quite short. Perhaps something a bit that. Let's go a bit more adventurous. Let's go up even higher. Okay, and then that's obviously going to follow contour of the shirt well. Okay, so what have I got so far? I've got this vest kind of on top of the shirt. Now, I very much like this element to it too. This is nice with the two-tone here, but I don't like the use of buttons. I think they kind of look a bit strange, but I might change my mind later. I like this instead, this kind of fold over kind of cover. Okay, let's go ahead. I'm going to add that in. I'm going to do it on the same side as well. Start there, fold it over. Now, I don't know how much I want of it to kind of take up the whole space here, but I'm just going to try that for now. Down, something like that. I might even want to go a bit more exaggerative and put a really kind of curved point on there. That up a little bit. There you go. Something like that. Okay. Now the tricky part. Where does that high collar come in? So if we're looking here around her neck area, you kind of want it around there. So if we build that part into it now, we can kind of come up here. And remember, it's going to be coming around her neck there. So I reckon it's going to be something down there like that. And it's probably going to fold over something like that. I imagine. I'm not entirely sure. Okay, something like that. Quite an exaggerative kind of collar, I guess. Okay. Maybe that's a bit too much. Like that. So we've got that kind of fold over, and that folds in straight to there. You'll get a better idea what it looks like on this side here. So if I put the collar there, and it's just going to fold over there as well. Okay, and it's going to tuck in back there. Okay, so what the heck have I just drawn? Let's color it in. We'll find out. Now, I said I'm not very good with colors at this stage, so forgive me. I'm just going to go for a slightly lighter shade of gray. Okay, just to kind of see how it stands out in comparison to what we've just drawn with the shirt. So I'm going to try my best to fill the volume up as much as I can, as accurately as I can, to see how that waistcoat is faring that's on top of her shirt. Might be thinking I've neglected the neck area again, and you're absolutely right, I have, But I'm also going to ask Lady Maria very nicely if I can borrow her kind of, what would you call that? A lacy neck cravat, I guess. Yeah, a lacy cravat. Let's just call it a lacy cravat, and that's basically going to hide any neck thing that we do here with the shirt and the waistcoat. So I'm not going to quite draw anything for that part just yet. So let's hide the girl again to see what we've got. Let's zoom out. It's nothing spectacular, but it's getting there. So what have I got so far? I've got the shirt I want. I've got the kind of vest that I want there, or waistcoat that I want there. Okay, so hopefully you can see there, just by demonstrating these two articles of clothing, how my kind of, I guess, concept art style, for lack of a better term, works. I basically draw an outline, figure it out a little bit, and then just shade it in to see the different layers of the character. Fingers crossed it looks good. Starts to. Okay, so the only other part I want to do now is collar. So I'm going to ask Lady Maria very nicely if we can borrow her collar. And if you don't know what I'm talking about when I say the kind of lacy cravat thing, it's this thing here. Okay, now it's varying kind of in terms of what it actually looks like. This one's a bit stiff, kind of comes around the neck there. Now you could have a stiff kind of collar, I guess, but I'm thinking if it's more of a wraparound like this, our character can use it to bring it up over her kind of nose and her mouth, sorry, as like kind of like a little mask to hide her identity for whatever she might need. Maybe she hasn't quite sworn off the outlaw part of her life yet, okay? But that kind of cravat there can help her with that kind of character. Okay, so this part here, I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm actually going to bring this. I'm going to put it on top because it's going to kind of hang over the rest of the stuff. I've already forgotten to name stuff, so I'm going to call this literally lace cravat. Yeah, I don't even know how to spell that. Call that the waistcoat. Waist color. There we go. Okay, so for the lace cravat, again, similar to what we just did, go back to small brush size and come down. Let's use a green, a nice obtuse green. So how are we going to draw this? Well, it's going to wrap around the neck. It's going to finish pretty high up on her neck, but I want it to be lower than the collar. So I'm going to kind of think it's maybe going to just give a bit of breathing room. Maybe something down there like that. Okay, and it's quite poofy, so it's going to kind of overflow around her neck a little bit. Okay, don't make it too tight because obviously it's a wraparound. So gonna kind of wrap in a bit like this. Okay, now I don't know exactly how these kind of formulate. I think they usually kind of tie into kind of pendant. You can see Lady Maria's got a pendant here at the moment. So I'm just gonna kind of draw something in there for now. Maybe not too big, simple like that. I'm very much not keen on having it be some kind of thing like this, but I'm basically just going to draw in belt. I'll kind of tie off that part there. Okay, and then the kind of floofy bit, the floofy bit that kind of comes out there. So quite exaggerative. I want this to be quite big. Just kind of draw Batman's cape. Right, and then maybe another layer. Because I imagine this kind of garment like that has got quite a few. Okay. Now, let's go ahead and create a new layer. Let's call the lace L cravat color. And I'm sure you can see we've got an issue already with this. I won't point out what that is just yet. Color it in. I'm going to do a very typical white because, again, that's what Lady Maria's is. So I'm just going to color it in white. And a lot of these kind of lacy cravat things are white anyway, but of course we have the absolute freedom to change it. We don't have to play by the rules for the character of Ash or Lady Maria, so we can absolutely as we fit. Okay, so what's the problem? Part of her neck's still showing. Not very good. Okay, but it's fixable. all we got to do is go back to the shirt layer here. And this is why I didn't bother so much about the neck part. Just going to erase those lines there that I drew in for the neck. Go to the shirt color, my paintbrush back out, sample the color I used to color in the shirt, just going to color in the rest of it there. Okay, so you can see that her whole shirt encompasses everything underneath that kind of lacy cravat layer now. And now that we've actually got, tidy up the cravat there, now that we've actually got this kind of neck garment there, we can actually see how it's starting to come together as a kind of complete set. Okay, if you want to see what you've got so far, don't forget you can always hide your base mesh. Okay, well, your base image, I guess. Okay, so again, let's review what we've done so far. It's nothing spectacular, nothing amazing, but I am starting to get the vibe of the character coming through. I understand she's got this kind of blouse shirt underneath, she's got this waistcoat that I definitely want to add more interesting elements to, but the outline and silhouette is acceptable, it's there, and I know I want that kind of lacy cravat around her neck, just like Lady Maria had. Okay, I think a couple of things I might want to adjust. I might want to adjust the height of the collar. I'm going to make it oversized and bring it a bit higher. But in the next couple of videos, we'll start doing the other kind of undergarments, like the trousers and whatnot. Undergarments is in the first layer of garments. We're not going to be drawing underwear because we're not going to see that. But trousers and whatnot. And then after that, we'll start to do things like belts and boots and gloves and that good stuff. Okay? So hopefully that video has been helpful in the essence of showing you how to do this kind of concept art style. Like I said, I'm not a concept artist, but doing it this way gets me by in terms of designing the character on paper. Okay, fantastic guys. I'm going to leave this video here, and in the next video we'll actually start to add in things like the trousers and maybe some kind of loose gloves, and we'll take it from there.